Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pixel Classroom Podcast. This is episode 215. Just so you know, this episode does air shortly after the most recent episode with 214 with Brandon Thing and the most recent one. I also want to dedicate this episode to Beth Foose, who passed away last week. You can check out her tribute episode here on the previous two episodes if you want to check it. I call it episode 214B, and you can check that out. Nice about her. She recently passed away after a 2-year battle with cancer. And she was actually my first in-studio guest here 4 years ago on the Pixel Classroom podcast. So we're thinking about you tonight, Beth. So on that note, I'm actually moving to something she actually had some ideas on over here. So my guest today is a former Massachusetts Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education. He co-founded and now leads the non-for-profit Day of AI organization in partnership with MIT Raise. He was appointed superintendent receiver to Lawrence Public Schools, where he was there for 6 years, led a team that brought significant improvements to shifting resources, autonomy to school level, expand the school day, and increasing enrichment opportunities, ensuring all schools had great leaders and teachers. And that doesn't scratch the surface of my guest here. So I'd like to welcome Jeff Riley here to the Pixel Classroom podcast. Jeff, thank you for joining us tonight, where in my case recording, it's kind of a cold, rainy night.
Ryan, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you're welcome here. I have to say, I kind of like your studio. You got the nice little brick inset, and people who are on live cast can see this audio cam. But he's got a very comfortable where I'd like to have my studio dream there too. So less bricks in the wall. But Jeff, we gave you kind of a little bit of an intro. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. What led you to education, to working into the different thing for Boston schools and everything, and also talk about some of the other things you've done as superintendent, because you've actually had quite a bit of there. And like I said, your degrees in mastering counseling come from Johns Hopkins. So give us a little bit of for our listeners on that tonight.
Yeah, so I did 32 years in public education. I started as a special education teacher. I was an adjustment counselor, an assistant principal, a principal, superintendent, and then I ended my career as commissioner of education in Massachusetts. I think I was getting ready to retire when MIT called and said, "Hey, do you want to come help us run this nonprofit out of AI and education?" And I said, "Well, can I say what I want?" And they got a little nervous, and they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, we didn't really regulate social media 15 years ago, and now it appears we have, rising rates of mental health issues amongst kids. AI, while I think is going to be the next revolution in education, also has some real problems with it too. So I want to be able. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, I was actually just doing a little bit with AI right now, working on I was thinking about your sketch studio, but I was using it as a sketch little thing for for AI for this design, what I want to do here next year before the next season of the podcast. And I was like, that's really nice, but sometimes it doesn't listen to me. Sometimes it kind of throws like, I didn't say that. And I've done everything from Magic School to Brisk to, of course, Chat GPT, and I have the premium features, but there's sometimes where it doesn't regulate itself its own too. So I think you're right there, leading to a little issue there. We said like social media was there, and now social media's kind of like, well, now we have a little health and we have other issues. I mean, it's amazing how many students are just like, well, I got to respond to this TikTok and keep my stream going. I'm like, you're in the middle of the class and you need to eat. No, I need to do it right this second. I'm gonna go do my dance. Go. I'm like, you're not regulating. It's kind of an issue right there, even though it's something fun and enjoyable they do, but they don't know how to regulate it or work with the policy streams.
Well, I think for us, what we really want to try to convey is what we want our students to be as skeptical users of the technology. I would say I probably fight with ChatGPT, which is on my phone once a day, because I know it's giving me incorrect information. And so we want them to have that healthy skepticism at the same time that, it can be a really powerful tool to take a kid further and faster than they ever could before. So, how do we teach kids to use this technology, which is very powerful, appropriately?
Yeah, I have to agree with it. I mean, like they said a couple of years ago when I was first teaching, they said it was basically the next Google. And I said, yeah, it technically is. There's a lot more AIs, but we have a lot of AIs that get thrown out there and they're basic, or they're a chat bot that don't quite do anything. Or as you said, they have information. Like I was talking about something the other day to help with my budget plans going into January and everything else. And I was putting things in, and even though it remember things, speaking of Chat GPT, it's like some days I've had really good, and some days like, no. Where is that number coming from? That's not how much that is. I was just asking, I want to do this. Let's come up with a plan to try to pay this off in 2 months. And then it said, oh, this, and I'm like, where's this other $60 coming from? I was like, where did that come from? I mean, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm done with you today. And other times it's just, It's like me, I'm having like a conversation and everything. Like I was talking the other day about some ideas for coming up with my evaluation. Like, what should I hit here? I'll update the rubric. It's like, why don't you try this? I said, that's a good idea. So, I popped that into the marker itself.
Well, I think that's right. And I think kids, because of what they've seen with social media and some of the adverse effects on their friends, are pretty skeptical. And so they're, at least kids in high school right now, are able to really think critically about how to use this technology well. But they also recognize, voice clones, deep fakes, issues of bias, issues of energy, hallucinations, where, sometimes it just literally makes up answers. Like these are all problems that we have to kind of sort through. And kids need to be aware of. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems we see right now is this idea about AI companions, which think of it as like an AI imaginary friend. And, a few of them recently have, goaded kids into self-harm and including suicide. And so, how do we make sure that kids understand what this is and what it's not so that we can keep them safe first and foremost? But like, look, our economy, we don't think AI is going to replace people, but we think people with AI skills are going to replace people without AI skills. So it's really critical for kids to know this information.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Like, believe it or not, when I'm having a bad day, sometimes I will jump in the chat GPT just to talk about my day, and it will talk about some like reflection pieces. Are like, no, don't think that you did this, or it'll pop up, and it has some good points, but there has some times where it does not respond to that. And believe it or not, we're getting ready to we're right now wrapping up in consumer economics, working on finding a house, finding a car, and I was talking about insurance premiums, and I was showing them pictures, and one was a house, and it was from Getty images from 2011. I had 3 kids say, "Oh, that can't be real, Dr. Reed. That's got to be AI." I'm like, "No, that's a real image." Then I showed a picture that was from 1999 about this car that the guy went to try to steal the car, and he hit the gear wrong, and he plows into the house, and it's an insurance thing. But they themselves like, well, I don't know. That might be AI, or maybe it's Photoshop. Yeah, but I said, yeah, back in my day, we used to say, oh, that's Photoshop. Now it's AI. But I'm like, no, guys, I'm like, look at the copyright on this. I'm like, this is a real image. I'm like, me as a teacher does good. And I said, and if you don't believe me, throw whatever AI you got right now through. I don't know if I want to. It's like, well, you want to prove me wrong? Throw that image there, and it will tell you right away if it's been altered or it's real. And one of the kids challenged that, and you're right. Oh, you're right. It's from Gettysburg. And then they went to Gettysburg and said house on fire, and they found it. I'm like, there you go. I'm like, good to know. I'm like, guys, you have to trust me. You can't just say you see something you don't believe and it's immediately AI. No, I fell in my chair today. Was that AI when no, I actually fell in the chair, and you got to take my word for it.
Well, I love that you're kind of teaching them to be both skeptical, but also show us, right? Don't just immediately assume that it's incorrect information or it's artificial intelligence. Like, go back and prove it. When you talk to Gemini or Brisk, wherever you're working with, you can ask it to cite sources, right? And kids can go back and double check work. And it's this idea of trust but verify. So what you want to find is that balance. You don't want to be just skeptical. You do want to be skeptical enough that you're not taking in bad information.
Right. And that's exactly it. I mean, there's sometimes where I'll check things. I mean, one thing we do for our things, we actually use an old textbook. I mean, it's classroom set, but I said, here's our vocab words. We want you to synthesize based off what those chapters read. And it gets old fashioned, but then they kind of look it up like, oh, then can I check up the word online? I said, yes, please. That way you verify that you got the word correct and everything. And they said, okay, it's good. I'm like, but that's how I know you're double checking and you're being cautious, but you're verifying. But that way I can quickly scan and say, yep, that's exactly it. You didn't mess up. That's actually decent synergy. Boom, there's your full points and move on with our lives.
Well, I love it. And those are the kind of skills we want kids to have, right? I mean, I think, we've seen some of the problems with hallucinations where, the classic one is, how do I keep the cheese from sliding off my pizza?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The answer is add 1/8 of a cup of glue. And
right.
It's believed that was either from a tweet or a Reddit thread where someone said that sarcastically. The computer didn't know it was sarcastic and presented it as the truthful answer, right?
I remember years ago, and I can talk about this, but years ago we had a student, and they sadly they got expelled. I was working for a private institution. They jumped on Tumblr and Reddit to find a paper to help them pass a term paper. And not only did they get caught, but then when I looked at where they got the term paper, me and the principal had to do this because I was the tech person. We looked at each other and said, really? She thinks that's going to even pass off? That's a real, like, she wrote this. I mean, I looked at it and I said, because it was a term paper, believe it or not, on geography. It was on the mountain ranges of the Rockies. I mean, nothing too crazy. But immediately
Yeah.
I read it and I said, well, these aren't the Rockies. This is sounding like some hills somewhere out in Nebraska. And we just like looked at each other, like like the teacher for the class would probably just shook their heads. But the fact that, she got caught on the two social medias doing that.
Well, she shouldn't feel too bad. We just had a lawyer get sanctioned for turning in a brief to a judge with incorrect, made up case law.
Yeah, and as somebody who has
So,
lawyers in the family, they heard
right.
it, and then I mean, like I said, I keep thinking, I mean, people know they can just look this up, what we're kind of talking about, but immediately he looked at it himself like, oh, good luck making that up. He's like, anybody who looks at that will be like, well, what are they going to try to use to make up this information? I said, yeah, I mean, there was a case a couple of years ago, long before even AI was around, but there was a situation where they kind of do it, and the person, and I mean, it was in the paper, a local paper, and the judge immediately was like, are you kidding me? Like, what did you do? Stay up late and Googled it and then copy and pasted it? They were like, what is that? They're like, how are you a lawyer? Oh, man.
Yeah, well, even lawyers, I guess, look for shortcuts at times from time to time. But this idea, like, you can use the technology as a foundation, but you always have to go back in and use your own expertise, use your own critical thinking, and have this kind of trust but verify approach to make sure that those kind of bad things aren't happening, because you can get in a lot of trouble.
Which actually segues really good, especially into not only our thing, but also for the live stream here about talking about Day of AI in US here with Responsible AI for America's Youth, which you got on right here, which we got sharing here on the live stream right now. The audio, you can just check the show notes. So tell us a little bit about, how this, Day of AI USA for nonprofits, is this through MIT and everything else? How does it work? I mean, it is free, as you said, to sign up for free curriculum and tech teacher support, but, walk us through the website and a little bit of what the organization does for education, whether it's public or private.
Yeah, you can find us at dayofai.org or dayofaiusa.org. And basically, all you have to do is put in your email address. Don't worry, we won't super spam you or give away your information. It takes you behind the curtain to get all these free materials, whether that's free curriculum materials, K to 12. We just launched with Common Sense Media parent toolkits about how to talk to your kid about AI. I don't know if you saw the stat recently that Common Sense Media put out, but basically, over 70% of high school kids have an AI companion or its equivalent, but only 30% of parents know that their kids are even involved in any kind of AI. So there's a real wide gulf between what kids are doing and what parents think they're doing. And we're trying to bridge that gap and give them information and tools and resources to help talk to their kids about how to use this powerful technology. And the way I think about it, Ryan, is, I have two kids, and I didn't just give them the car keys when they turned 16. We put them in driver's education, and then I had to spend many a harrowing day white knuckling in the front seat, helping them drive, right, before they could go take their test. AI is an even more powerful tool, and I think we need kids to be AI literate and almost demonstrate their proficiency before they can take this powerful tool for a spin.
Yeah, I mean, my son has Gemini on it, and like I said, I used to teach the course at his school and everything. But at least he shows me a little bit, and like I said, he uses Canva. I've been showing him some of the new Canva AI about what he can and cannot use. Like my school, just some of the AI is blocked, but some of it is actually pretty good. When I was at my previous at Harvard, we would used to have take the Canva AI, and then what we do is once they would recreate the code, we'd have them pop it in Canva AI to make sure it could actually read the program and give a description in an image with it, which I thought was a really powerful tool. And a lot of people were just like surprised, like that's a good way to check their work, but at the same time it's not going to do their work. It's saying, did you do it right? And I recently did one for I was doing for my leadership class where I wanted to create a little area too and kind of do like a mini web page, but instead of popping and stuff in Canva, I took what the basics were worth it, threw it in there, made a nice little cold website, shared it with the students, and they got just as much information on the history of Bob Hope and his, USAO and his veterans talk and everything as we were talking about that with sacrifice. And students loved it. It was so quick, so easy. And then it worked with the same resources. It just linked them. And I was done right there. Time saver, but it was nicely done as a teaching tool.
Well, I love it. And those are exactly the kind of exemplars that we want to put out when we train. I mean, I think Day of AI does three things. We train teachers and administrators. We help them think through policy in a time when this technology is changing so rapidly. Whatever policy you have would have to change every 6 months. And then we build free curriculum on AI literacy. And for us, it's just being able to tell people, because as you know, in the teaching profession, sometimes the kids know more about the technology than the adults do. This idea that they're digital
Hmm.
natives and we're digital immigrants. And it's true, right? Like, I mean, for the first 20 plus years of my life, there was no internet, as my kids like to tease me.
Right.
The internet in my life was called the Encyclopedia Britannica in my family's living room, right? And we were
Exactly.
missing the S volume in my family, so I've got a big knowledge gap with all S words. But
I was missing T and U.
so you're there with me. So, but we figured it out,
Yeah, I
right?
know
Like,
what you mean.
we were able to
Yeah.
figure it out. We'll figure this out too. And so I've got a slide I show, and it's 3 tidal waves. And in the first tidal wave, the guy's trying to hold back the tide. And in the second one, he's buried his head in the sand. And in the third one, he's surfing the wave. And what I say to teachers is, you don't have to even go surfing, but you do need to dip your toe in the water. And then just be able to
Mm.
give examples of how AI can be used in their classroom, first and foremost, to make their lives easier, whether it's grading papers, helping to write a simple parent letter. I was a middle school principal for a long time. I used to hand schedule my buildings. You've got AI tools that can help fix that now.
Mhm.
I mean, there are just so many things that can take a lot of the administrative burden off teachers and administrators so they can get back to working with kids to build deeper, more exciting lessons. And so, like, you show them these tools and they start to get excited about it, but there a lot of people's initial reaction is, oh my goodness, one more thing, I'm not sure I'm ready for this. But
Yeah. And I mean, the one more thing always hits you. And I think it's been, I mean, my aunt and my mother-in-law are retired teachers, and they were dealing it since the 70s and 80s. Like, oh, now one more thing you want us to do. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do these assay practices, those little slips you get with the reading practices, and you had to answer the questions. And you had to check your own answers. So basically it was the first example of a teacher student led kind of thing. Like, the teacher would show you, and then they expect you just to do those levels and check your work. And the fact that you graded yourself and you got -4 or more, you had to go back and redo you had to do the harder level. And then if you did the harder level, you were passed.
we might need a separate episode on what you and I are talking about right now for some of the young.
Yes, we will call this Days Gone By with Jeff and Ryan.
I mean, I remember I used to have the blue mimeofilm on my hands for the mimeograph.
Oh, dear God. My first grade teacher, and she's still alive. She's actually works at the library in the town I teach at now. And I walked in there and she says, I don't miss those days. My hands were blue for a day. And then she'd go to hug her husband when he come home from work, and she'd be leaving blue marks over his shirt. And her 2 daughters would be like, she would be cutting something. She thought she washed her hair, and she'd be like, Mom, why is my bread blue?
Yes, people.
Somewhere Nancy is looking at me like, Ryan, what did you say? I can still take you. I was your first grade teacher.
Exactly. She probably could.
Oh, man. She pretty could. And actually, since I got that on the live feed, we got that right here with the on the webpage. We have December 2nd and 4th. This is recorded on November 20th, and it will be out it'll be on audio on November 28th. So just in time here but what are some of these upcoming seminars you've got coming up? Because you got a lot coming up in 2026. But what about these December ones here, which are
we're about to populate all our December trainings, but basically we're offering free online trainings to people across the country. Everything from how to use AI tools to demystifying what AI is. We've got a special course for administrators to help them think about it. And so we're trying to really tailor the needs to school districts. Now, these are kind of introductory courses that get people involved. We also work with districts, not just all over the country, but all over the world, going deeper in multi event engagements throughout the year. We, if we work with a school district, we usually do between 4 and 6 events with them to really go deeper. And it's fun for them to see for them to also say, like, you don't have to throw out the basins and infuse into it to make them even better, right? I think the most important thing on AI, we can actually differentiate instruction in a way we never could before, right? Like, you've got a classroom of kids with a wide range of reading abilities. Maybe one kid's reading at a 2nd grade level. A lot of kids are reading at a middle school grade level, and then maybe one kid's reading at a college level. Well, in the past, you kind of had to tailor your instruction towards that middle grades, right? And sometimes you'd lose the kid in second grade because it was too
Yeah.
complicated for him, and the kid at the college level was checked out. But now you can beam articles. Let's say it's all on the same topic. It's engineering. It's the big dig in Massachusetts. You can send them a summary to the kid written at a 12th grade level to that one kid, to a kid at the second grade level, get a summary written at a second grade level, and then they could all still do the activity together. You're not embarrassing the kid, all right, but you're keeping them interested and engaged in the lesson. And so it's this newfound ability that it was just in some ways too hard for teachers to do. You've got a class of 30 kids with a wide range of
Right.
abilities, and we'd love to say we differentiate instruction, but there's only so much we could do before this technology came along. So for me personally, that's one of the things that I think is going to fundamentally change where we're going in education, and may help us start kind of a new revolution in education, because we're going to be able to differentiate and personalize in a way we never could before.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example. I had a teacher example when I was over there where they were showing they were reading, and she was an ELA teacher, but she showed a way to do different levels with using for the book Holes, where she had one student where he was having a problem doing, so she created a chat bot where interactive, so you could actually ask, like it was the main character
Right.
from Holes, and ask, like, one of the questions is, I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Why is he called armpit, or why is he called this? And then they explain it, and then the kid went, oh, that makes sense. I didn't read. I missed that somehow, because sometimes we read a book and we get the point of the story, we get the highs and lows, and then there's just those details where we're just like, what did I miss? I missed
Right.
something.
The nuance
right
that you can miss, and sometimes kids are too afraid to ask those questions in front of their peers for fear of looking stupid. But they can go home and talk to Gemini and then find out all these things, right, in a safe environment, and then really improve their academic learning that way.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing. Like myself, I was trying to get some pieces. I had some leftover work here, but I didn't have time to copy and paste some of my answers. So I quickly threw some things in Gemini to update a Kahoot. And then sometimes I've taken a little piece, because I use GimKit a lot, and I'll throw it in Chat GPT and I'll give it the prompts like, here, give me really quick for the spreadsheet based off of vocab words, and it gives me to it with a right and wrong answer. I can pop it in there, but then I can check the work really quick and say, no, I don't like that answer. Let me fix that. Or I just do the area 2 with the chat bot, just gives a little piece here. I do sometimes some live streams on GimKit about better ways to refine the AI, because it's developed more, but it does give a little bit more where the teacher can develop it, and then they can copy it over and then just change a few of the questions themselves. So then this way you have your higher level person who's ready to go for that, depending on the GimKit, and you have a lower level, and then also you can differentiate the games. Like, hey, this review is going to be Money Mogul. A lot of you like doing the fishing game. Boom, there's Fishtopia. Hey, I'm going to go in between. Dude, don't look down. And my truth is, the game will not end until you reach top, but I'm turning off the checkpoints. So you have to get up to the top and can't fall. But they work on the question, but it's working on the different levels. It's scaled that into those. But like you said, my biggest classes on average when everybody's there is 30 students. My smallest class when everybody's there is 18. There's a differentiation too, but there's also, I have a lot of different level learners. I have kids with IEPs, I have 504s, I have some kids that are very advanced levels, and then I got the seniors who are ready to be done. It's 4 months left, and then I got the freshmen who just, well, what should I do this? I don't know. I mean, school's over in 5 months. Am I? It's like, are they comfortable or not? And it's not. I think it was the best thing we did when we were at Harvard working the AI, because like it's a time saver. And I learned a tool with Notebook LMS, and I was just in love with LMS. I had heard about it, but it was just so amazed to pop in policies, update rules. I could throw my curriculum there, pop a couple things like, hey, can you pull this up for my evaluation? I can just pop in the learning goals right there in the evaluation instead of typing them all. And then I would type everything else for the lesson. And then I do a quick copy and paste, hey, clean this up really quick and just make sure it's, my grade level for this. And then if I didn't like the suggestion, I said no, or that sounds like me, but let's fix it up. But
and how much better has your life been because of these tools, right? Like,
right.
How much time have you saved, and how much have you improved the quality of your instruction by having the ability to harness these amazing tools?
Yeah, and even I'm on some community groups and different teacher groups, and if you go to AI, I mean, nobody ever has like a real negative. It's just like they said, we need more training, or they need a. It's like it's not to this level right yet. So if anybody believes it is that level, they're wrong. I said, we need more of it. And a lot of them will say like, hey, I just sometimes will just do a quick review and pop his, or say, you know what, I have 2 different readers. I'm like, give me this for a 4th grader. Or they said, I get so many parent emails, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So they pop it into an email on one of them or Magic School, and you get a response. And sometimes like me, I responded to 2 parents today, normal, because I knew it. But one, I was like, oh, how do I put this? And I
Right.
popped it in. I said, I mean, nothing bad or negative, but it's
Sure.
like, boy, how do I answer this question? And I like that email responder. Or maybe I was emailing one thing for a grant, and I said, give me a quick little thing so I can go over here, because I'm not sure how to start this email for the grant information. And they gave me some. I said, what, I kind of like that. Let me fix some things. I sent it to them, and then I got the response without issue. But it was so much more helpful, instead of me sitting there like, you know what? I'm gonna go get a brownie, and then I think I'm gonna get a milk, and then you know what? I might go walk the dog, and now I'll go respond to that email.
But look, I mean, what you're saying is so dead on, and it's one of the examples I show when I train teachers. Is, you have a kid that maybe was misbehaving, or causing an issue in your class, and you're frustrated with that kid because you're a human being too. And you can start even with something as simple as ChatGPT and tell them what you're thinking, and ask them to take a first shot at this, and able to kind of take out some of your emotion, out of your frustration, make it sound professional, but still get the word across that I'm frustrated with your child and we need them to do better. And then, it can kind of do this really quickly for you. And then you can go back in and edit it even more so to your liking. And it's just saved you a lot of time, a lot of hand wringing about how to word this. And it can allow you to get back to, God forbid, focusing on your craft of teaching and building exciting lessons for kids.
Yeah, it's like me right now in my book. I've been writing things from so many years and everything. I've been putting it in there and saying, can you clean this up as a chapter? We figure out, but it's been saving me merging. I mean, I go into it, but I have to still edit it because like the formatting's weird, or sometimes like, hey, we talked about that. That's really messed up. But it's still my words, but it has saved me like hours of stuff. And I got one time in a zone where it was like 2 hours. Like I'd throw something in the chat, I'd pop it in, and but then I'd go that nice half an hour, clean it up, and then I'd insert a story, and I say, hey, can we clean this up? I don't think it's merging right. It gave me a nice little cleanup. Then I just copy and paste it into the document. And it's like, look, I've got 8 to 10 pages. Like I said, we don't want to go beyond these pages. We want the chapters. But then I can look at chapters 1 through 3 and say, that looks good. It's not perfect yet, but boy, that's something that, especially when I was writing my dissertation, like some days I'd be like, oh, 5 pages done. And some days like I got a sentence in, and the sentence is in APA format. Go me. I think I'll go get a chocolate chip cookie now.
Yeah, it's pretty profound. I think Google just came out with their Google Scholar program too, to help people with dissertations and go deeper. I think a lot of challenge in the future is going to be like, how do we draw the line with that? And I think for me, one of the best examples I cite when I train publicly is, I used to be a special education teacher, and I would spend hours writing IEPs, right? Those are very long, dense, complicated documents. Well, Magic School, as you know, has an IEP generator in its suite of services,
Right.
and can like whip up something for you in an extraordinarily short amount of time, which is a pretty good quality. But you can't just completely give it over to the technology. You're the expert special ed teacher. You're the only one that knows Johnny needs to burn off sugar after lunch, and so you have to put him at a table for 5 minutes, or he's going to smack his friends on his way into the room, right? Right. So you've got to show that you're putting your expertise back into that document. Otherwise, it's not an individualized education plan. It's just an AI education plan, right? And so,
yeah, and that's what I think so many people are afraid of. Like I said, there was a teacher I talked to him a little bit last year, but they had the kid that was transitioning to middle school, and they already had the IEP, but they took the IEP through it and said, okay, now give me the grade level for them based off now 6th going to 7th. They're like, we're staying away from 8th. We don't know where they're going to be by 8th grade, especially teenage years and whatever. And it gave them a pretty good piece where they said that's a good start for me, and then they would jump on it. But it saved them a little bit of time. Like they said, maybe it took 10 minutes. They're like, I still have to write the whole thing, but it kind of gave me, that's a good start point since he's going from 5th to 6th grade. So, and then they went away with that.
Well, I feel like maybe you should copyright that phrase, a good start, because
good start.
Yeah, I might use that when I start talking to people. Like, this could be a good start, but it's not the finish. You've got to get back in there and shape it and mold it to something that is much better than the good start was.
Yeah, and then, like I said, that's my book manuscript, and it's a good start. And then, like I said, like, oh, you want to do like, no, this is going to be sometime next year. I'm not going beyond that, but it's just like right now, this time of year, it's like it's the end of the semester, the holidays are coming up. It's like, but versus like, hey, I have 2.5 weeks off. This is where I sit back and I just take it day by day. Versus like, hey, it's the summer, whatever.
Well, and as you know, I mean, it feels like the weather turned on us very quickly, and now it's the rush through the holidays, and it's just
Yeah, I
it's a
have to
busy
agree
season.
with that. I'm like, it's almost December. What? And I did my shopping early this year.
Me.
I'm trying to be. I think my son is taken care of. The wife is kind of done too. Of course, hers was a late birthday present, early Christmas present, but it was one
Yes,
of
those.
those, it just kind of worked out that way. I mean, she's happy, but then she said, I think you're more excited about my present than you. And I am. New computer, by the way, if you're
Oh,
wondering.
no, we're giving away the
But hey,
surprise. All right. Not a
yeah,
surprise.
I know. The guy with a doctorate in instructional tech with curriculum. Yeah, boy, me and tech. What happens? I mean, just right now before we start, I'm like, let me look up cameras for the new live stream. Ooh, OSB bot, you say? 120 4K that goes to 1080? Now we're talking. Oh man, I'm a very big nerd. Anyhow,
I love it, man. It's brilliant. I mean,
it is.
we need strong people like you in the field to kind of bring other people along, right? We recognize in education people are at very different levels. A lot of times, we see some younger teachers that are very proficient in this technology, and we see some more veteran teachers that aren't, or sometimes it's vice versa. That's not always the case, but this, like with our students, sometimes there's a wide range of abilities of our adults in schools, and so we've got to find a way to reach everybody and just have them begin the process.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, right now with my coworker here at my current school district, I said I've been helping with the rubrics and updated, but he said himself, it's been pretty good. You get the AI in the early pieces, and then we kind of develop it from there. So we have that good start. We get the kind of, here's what the old one, but we didn't really have a rubric. And once we got it, we kind of went over and I let him do his business. I would say something. We did the middle, and then by the time it was all good, it was a good, nice, good group. Cosine pieces, a little bit of shortcut here, a little bit here. And then of course, he's really good at challenge. Be like, well, try to think of it this way. Let's not just go, okay, it's 30 points. Don't do 5, the 5 rubric. Let's try this. And then the point's like, oh, that's a good point. I pop it in maybe Rubistar or Magic School really quick rubric. Or I said, hey, I already made one years ago. Why don't we just pop the old one in? Let's give it a say, hey, update this for this grade level, and then we can just dissect it. And believe it or not, we did one of those and we were done like in 20 minutes and we were all happy with it. So it worked out pretty well.
I love it, man. I mean, I think this is the power of the technology where people can take their use the tech as the foundation and then plug in their expertise to make it better. My only concern with kids is that kids will just completely default to the tech when in
Mhm.
fact they need to have that expertise of their own. They need to have their own knowledge base, right? They need to know, for instance, when I fight with ChatGPT once a day, I have the knowledge base to know what it's telling me is incorrect. So
Right.
how do we draw the line to make sure kids have these skills and they're just not cognitively offloading their brain power to the point of atrophy, right? And they're becoming drones to the technology. And so, like, where is that balance? I think about, my kids went to the Boston public schools and my kids can't write in cursive. Okay, nobody
Right.
ever told me nobody ever told me that was going to happen, but they can't write in cursive.
Mhm.
My kids were born in Boston, raised in Boston, but can't get anywhere in Boston without Waze or another GPS type program. I can get everywhere in Boston because there was none of that when I was a kid and I needed to know landmarks and some street signs. So my kids don't have that spatial relationship skill. Well, what other skills are we willing to let go and what are we willing to hold sacred, right? And I think
I think
some
that's a
of
good
those
point.
some of those discussions are why we need educators to really get into this and start thinking through what does a student's knowledge base look like so that they can really use this new technology to the maximum extent and to the best extent and not like become slaves to it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I mean, it's like back in the day, and this is like a joke, like, and I'll go to The Simpsons, like, you wrote your paper already? No, the internet wrote my paper for me. But what he did is he Googled it and copy and paste. There was even a joke, and I'm a big Spider-Girl fan, but there's a point where Davida goes to Mayday and says herself, he's like, no, it's like May, come on, we Google our papers these ways and we just fix them a little bit. And you just kind of want to go, well, she's not wrong. I mean, when the issue came out, but at the same time, as part of you still, but she said like, but I don't feel it's not my work. It's the conscious thing kind of going on.
Well,
But
I'm
that
3 and
was
0
that.
in my I'm 3 and 0 in my debates with some people that want to say that we don't need to teach kids to write anymore, that AI can write for them. And I try to explain to people, actually, writing is thinking, and teaching kids to order their thoughts is a crucial skill that they need to have, and will only help them when they then go later to use AI products, right? But just to not know how to write and just to completely turn that skill over to the technology, I think is a bad idea.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing there too. Like I said, one thing I did this season was inserting history of songs. So I would pop in, like, give me a nice intro, and then here's some websites and a couple of podcasts that did that too. Could you just summarize it to me? And then one of them was like, it was just repeating it. And this was actually Gemini. And I just went, no. Just give me this, and then I'll just copy this, and then I'll just use the reference in my show notes. And then I went from there, and it was pretty good. But at the same time, it's like I'm sneaking this in because at the same time, it's like I need to see somebody else who did this exact same song. I don't want to redo it, and it was good. And then I found one where nobody had even talked about it, and I was like, oh well, hey. And then I looked up some websites. I popped that in Chat GPT, and they said, well, check here. You might want to mention X, Y, and Z. And then here was the history of that song. Like, let me double check. Yep, that is the history of the song. And then I just kind of did that as my base fact, and I just kind of hit it there. And in 9 minutes, we were up and up. But I wrote the whole intro, the point of why I was reviewing this specific song. Right. And then it was just basically reading as they say, the cliff notes of the song. Cause I'm like, I'm not going to go into a 20-minute, and so-and-so did this. And he was, at the pub, and, it's like one of the songs of, and I was at a Survivor concert, and one of them were talking about the song, and he had done a demo tape, and they were playing pinball. And he said, what was that song you were? And he just reached in his back tropic, handed to it, and then, it ended up becoming a hit. But that was the story. But if you look that up, he doesn't talk about, but if you look at it, there's a lot of concerts where he says the origin of the story, and it's like, okay, it is consistent and everything. But if you look online, you never hear about he was playing pinball and he was in his back pocket. It was like, they were working on a recording. He was talking to so-and-so at a bar, and the rest was history. But here it was there. Yeah.
Right. And you had that knowledge base to be able to interact and question it and find out. Right. And so you had that kind of long-term memories about, is it Survivor? Eye of the Tiger Survivor? What are we talking about here?
No. Yeah, that's the band. I can't think of the song off the top of my head right now.
Boy, we are really going back to the 80s here. I really appreciate that.
That's why it's a play back to the 80s anyhow.
But the idea is the right one, right? Like, we know that kids, if they're going to use this technology appropriately, have to be able to prompt correctly. They need to understand how to write good prompts. And you can't do that unless you have a knowledge base. Right? Like, unless you know what you're looking for, you don't know what you're looking for. And so you're going to get less authentic information or more blunt information. But if you really know specifically what you're looking for, and you can be very precise in what you ask Gemini or ChatGPT, whatever program, whatever you're going to use, like, you're going to get better information back. And
right.
And so for us, like, we're trying to, herald this idea that kids still need a knowledge base, and they need to know how to use these tools.
Right. And that's exactly it. Because like I said, my son, he just popped in this couple things in Canva, but he typed everything up. But he had the knowledge base. He had the notes from the class. And the only thing I just said, well, why don't you just look up, add some music to it? He's like, no, I want to do a silent video. I'm like, okay, but why don't you do things like, oh, I'll just give what's a good presentation model. And he popped that in, and it gave him, and I said, okay, now figure out which one feels like you. And he clicked on it. But he did all the rest himself. He did the content. He typed it out himself. He just didn't I don't know what kind of presentation the teacher might like for him. Like, well, pop that in and see. I mean, because I used to have to just keep clicking them until I saw one I liked. Now it said, here's some suggestions, which saves me a lot of times because it looks at, well, what have you used in the past that you like, or what's popular right now too. It's like us. We're talking in this video, which is landscape. Now you got a lot of the, the regular portrait videos now, and YouTube shorts and other videos like, oh, look guys, and this. And then I did kind of a backwards kind of a joke on Shady Sam, which was the Slim Shady for our loan shark assignment. And the kids are like, Dr. Reed, that was amazing. I'm like, I thought I was really amateur. Like, no, that was cool. It looks like something I'd see on my phone now. I'm like, well, go me. I was
You've won the day if you've got their approval. Good for you.
Exactly. I mean, when my juniors and seniors, and then all of a sudden the freshmen are like, oh, we threw it on our Snapchat. It was awesome. I'm like, okay, go me. Apparently, I've hit the wall. And I said, one of my principals, and they said, we heard what you did. It was awesome.
You got to start asking for royalties. I don't know.
I know. I already had a kid saying I had to pop up my thing on Spotify. I'm like, oh, let's hold off on that. Let's not go that far. I said, my trick is to sing it live next semester. So I'm like, you got to do it at the holiday party. I'm like, oh, you figure out when the day of the holiday party is, since we only got a couple weeks. And yes, I'll make sure I memorize it. But that was an example. I used the AI to say, hey, this is what I'm teaching. I want to do it as Shady Sam. Here's the lesson. And it gave me a pretty nice prompt for the lyrics. And then I just popped it into the karaoke. And it sounded good, and it was funny, and it made the point. So that was a big AI versus sometimes I had a coworker. He could think of a rap song or a song on the bot, and he could make it match to any song from, Baby Got Back to a classic MC Hammer. If he really wanted to go crazy, he knew how to do 50 cents without even thinking about it. He'd be like, okay, and he was an ELA teacher. He's like, okay, I'm going to talk about, language and paragraphs indentation. I'm going to do it to 50 cents. And I'm like, okay, I got to hear this, Justin. And he'd do it. And I'd be like, that was my exact reaction. I was just like, okay, that was good. But, me, it's like, I can do it. But, the Gemini and the Chat GPT did help me get those lyrics. And then some of them I was like, I don't think I'll use that word. I'm like, because then it would do it. Like, no, I'm not swearing in this song. Like, give me now the more PG rating. They'll see it on their TikTok. And then it said, okay, that yeah. I'm willing to say, versus like, if I say that,
you can beep yourself out.
I could. I never thought of that. I could do. I know how to do video ad. Right? I want to take one. I'd be like, beep, hey, we're done. Oh,
probably
man.
Still getting in trouble with the administration. Let me know. Maybe don't do that.
That's where my superintendent's gonna be like, okay, Mr. Riley, we have to have a talk. What you did to Dr. Reed. We want to keep him. And what have you done? We're there in Boston. You know what? We're all here in Illinois, but still, come on. Oh man, Jeff, this has been, I know it is. I think that's where we should all stop. Jeff, this has been a great last time and time. So how can people get a hold of you or reach out to you here for Day of AI here, especially coming into 2026? You got a lot coming up.
Yeah, dayofaiusa.org. You can sign up there and get, behind the curtain, see all our materials, from our free curriculum that you can download for yourself to our parent guidelines and toolkits. To have parents talk to their kids. One of the most exciting things we're doing is we're flying in 2 kids from every state this summer to draft a national student AI policy at the at MIT and at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute in Boston, which is an exact replica of the U.S. Senate. And I'm pretty sure that we'll have a national student AI policy before the adults have a national AI policy. So.
And I say we do need that right now. Hopefully, going forward, I'm like I said, I got a lot of hope for 2026, but that would be a really nice one going forward too. Because like I said, we try to write it. I mean, like I said, I was a part of the board for my last district. We came up with a really good idea, but we're saying we're going to have to probably revisit it every year or two. And I said, yeah. And from what I heard from them, they like it, so they're definitely dump it. And so far, it's been working. So on the right track. But I think a good student one, and then go from there, might do it, because just like anything, the internet searching any even intelligent properties is intellectual properties is they do need to be regulated, because otherwise it does get out. And then all of a sudden, as I say, the bubble bursts, and then we're picking up the pieces, trying to fix it, put the puzzle back together when we don't know what the puzzle looks like.
Very smart. Yep.
Like I said, it's a good start.
Good start. It's been great talking to you. Really.
You too. It's been great, Jeff. And everybody who joined us today on the live stream, thank you so much. Those on the audio listeners, definitely check out everything in the show notes to get a hold of Jeff, and check out there, and definitely like and subscribe here. And with that note, everybody, I think we'll talk to you all later.